Please watch the video until the end to feel every hush and curtain call of this love.
Chapter 1. The City and the Stage.
He who recounts this tale did not stand upon the stage, nor did he sit in the royal box. He observed from the shadowed galleries of the city and kept the kind of secrets that the theater forgives. He had watched markets and docks, lovers and merchants, but none of those lives moved him as the life inside the red curtain playhouse did. It was there that Edwin Hale, part genius, part debtor, entirely restless, wrenched language into life and fed the public both laughter and tears. Edwin's gift came and went like the tide. Sometimes he found whole scenes within an hour, other times he sat many nights with quill in hand and a single word to show for it. Across town lived Livia Marlowe, the daughter of a man who measured worth by land and alliance. She had been raised with silk and embroidery, but her heart belonged to footlights and lines. She had read plays in secret and memorized cadences that made grown men stand and listen. Circumstance would have married her to a lord whose estates would please her father's ledger. Fate and folly made her a conspirator of her own desire. When the troupe advertised for a new player, Livia took a risk that would change both their lives. She disguised herself as a boy and slipped into the crowd of hopefuls, where fate, sharpening its appetite, smiled. Chapter 2. The Meeting of Ink and Breath. Edwin spotted her, him, as she begged the stage manager, with the same instinct a composer has for a wrong note. There was something in the tilt of her speech, a cadence too knowing for a novice, and when she recited a passage in a half-whisper, the words filled the room as if they had been waiting there for decades. He approached under the pretense of correction, but he came to examine the light in those eyes. He learned Livia's truth by degrees, an actress hidden within the cloth of a page-boy, a woman refusing to be reduced to a dowry. She admitted nothing with a theatrical confession. Instead, she revealed herself through laughter and the small rebellions of manner. In the hush of rehearsals, Edwin read aloud fragments of a new play he could not finish. Livia listened and corrected, suggested, argued. They shaped scenes together as two sculptors might coax a figure from clay. It became evident, fast as a candle's wick, that Livia was his muse in motion. She took breath into words that had been flat, and the lines became vessels for something more than plot, for longing. Chapter 3. Veils and Conspiracies. The theater was no innocent sanctuary. Master Pembroke, who paid the bills and kept an eye on the audience's coin, demanded that plays sell. He had no patience for philosophy that did not please. Among the actors, Crispin Drake, a veteran whose shadow had once loomed large over the boards, watched the newcomers with envy and suspicion. And then there was Lord Ashbourne, who possessed a comfortable intensity and the right line of succession to make him a desirable husband for Livia. Her father favored Ashbourne for all the expected reasons. Still, in the stolen hours between scenes, Edwin and Livia exchanged confidences by candlelight. They rehearsed kisses tucked in stage directions and read love into stage props. Their affection was quickened by risk. The more their closeness might be discovered, the more urgent their words became. If the world demanded to keep them apart, they would weave their revolt into the script itself. Edwin began to rewrite his play with her at its center, a woman who could be both bride and rebel, courted and sovereign. Chapter 4. Performance and Betrayal. Opening night arrived like a thunderclap. The house was full, the candles were trimmed, and the city outside hummed with gossip. Edwin's new work, half comedy, half confession, unfurled with a breathless facility that surprised even him. Livia, disguised, inhabited her part with a truth that made the audience weep and cheer in turns. The lines they had honed together landed with the force of a confession. Critics later would call it electric, but in that moment, those who knew the secret saw only a danger. The danger did not hide long. Crispin, whose jealousy was a slow-burning coal, saw the tender interchange and chose preservation of self over mercy. He revealed Livia's sex to Lord Ashbourne, who arrived with rain on his cloak and a resolution in his eyes. The revelation threatened ruin. Livia's fiancé felt betrayed, her father felt dishonored, and Master Pembroke feared the censors and the loss of favor with wealthy patrons. The theater's future trembled like a performer on a tall stilts act. Yet human hearts are cleverer than schemes. Edwin, faced with the possible loss of Livia and of his play, did something many playwrights do in secret. He wrote himself as brave as he wished he were. On the eve of what should have been humiliation, he staged an appeal not in the courts but in the language all present loved, in a heartfelt passage of his play, delivered with all the force of truth. He entrusted Livia with the final scene and the courage to speak where censures might silence her otherwise.
Chapter 5. The Choice.
It is often said that lovers in stories must choose between comfort and fire. Livia stood at that crossroads, watched by men who could offer either safety or scandal. Lord Ashbourne offered estates and approval. Edwin offered a life uncertain but luminous. Her father's voice, which had once been the loudest in her world, trembled when she told him that she could not be negotiated into happiness. She chose art and the man who had given it shape. She refused to kneel to a life prescribed by pedigree and instead stepped forward onto the stage of her own making. The city murmured. Some applauded, some scowled. Crispin sought retribution and gained censure, for the theatre, in its small democracy of applause, had the last vote. Master Pembroke, pragmatic to his marrow, balanced books and hearts and, seeing the box office full, forgave a scandal that sold seats. Edwin and Livia were not delivered from all consequence. There were debts to be paid and reputations to be tended. Yet their union in art and affection altered the course of both their lives. The play ran long enough to bring them safety and short enough to keep them hungry. Hunger, in its many forms, did them good.
Chapter 6. After the curtain.
Years hence, the narrator, the man who writes down what he saw, walked past the very theatre and felt, as any faithful patron would, a softness in his chest. The play that Edwin wrote and Livia breathed into being lived on in whispers and volumes, and not merely on pages bound in leather. It lived in every actor who dared to fall in love with the risk of his profession. It lived in every woman who chose her voice over a ledger. It lived in the city's memory like a favorite song. Edwin did not become rich in coin, but he became generous in soul, and Livia, who had once worn her rebellion like a secret garment, learned that to speak on a stage was also to be heard beyond it. They had lovers' quarrels and small triumphs, children who listened to bedtime stories full of improbable heroes, and mornings when quiet contentment felt as daring as any sonnet. And if the tale leaves one ache, it is the ache of knowing that art asks of us what the world rarely forgives: the willingness to be seen. Edwin and Livia paid that price gladly. The narrator, a man with a memory of smoke, candles, and applause, kept their story for those who would believe that love can be written into being and that sometimes a play can save a heart. If this tale moved you, please subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, give the video a like, leave a comment with your favorite line, and share the video with fellow lovers of theater and romance.